Celeste's POV, Daddy, why don't you marry Auntie Vanessa? Damien was zipping up our 5-year-old daughter's dress when she suggested he marry my best friend 3 hours before our wedding. Why would she say something like that? Bonnie's words pierced my heart like a needle. But what cut so deeply was Damien's silence. The man I'd given up my career for, to care for our family while he built his business, said nothing. We've come so far. I thought bitterly. I'd been there for him through every struggle, every late night, every moment of doubt. We'd built this life together, starting with Bonnie, who came into this world before we even had a wedding. Damien had promised me a dream wedding, a day to make up for all the sacrifices. But now, standing here, I couldn't help but wonder if those promises were just nonsense. Bonnie and I had just been arguing over which flower girl dress she would wear. Last month we went to a boutique with Vanessa, where I found the perfect dress. But Vanessa had bought another dress for Bonnie and given it to her behind my back. Vanessa and I met in college. We were classmates who quickly became best friends. When she was struggling to find work, I asked Damien if he could give her a job at his company. Since then, we saw her a lot more often, and Bonnie became very attached to her. Their relationship often struck a nerve. I constantly had to remind myself that Bonnie was 5, and it was probably just a phase. But recently Vanessa had been stepping over the line far too often. I was Bonnie's mother, and this was my wedding, so what dress my daughter and flower girl wore should have been my call. Maybe she was confused about her duties as the maid of honor? Damien came into the makeup room while I was trying to convince Bonnie to wear the dress I chose. She sprung into tears the moment she saw him. Why are you always so harsh with her, Celeste? Damien's voice was icy as he strode across the room to Bonnie. I wasn't being harsh. She's throwing a tantrum. I tried to suppress my hurt and frustration. Damien crouched down to Bonnie's level, ignoring me. He spoke to her in hushed tones. My heart melted as he wiped the tears from her cheeks. I snapped a picture of the two people my world revolved around. Bonnie looked adorable in her dress. Thank you, Daddy. Bonnie squealed. Damien always had a way with people. I smiled as she dashed out of the room. What did you say to make her so happy? He stood up and gave me a stony glare. I told her she could wear the dress Vanessa chose for her. What? Damien, we spent hours finding the perfect dress. The one Vanessa chose doesn't fit with the color scheme. Seriously, Celeste? He stood up. Why do you always have to be so difficult? I really wasn't. It's just that I've been dreaming of this wedding for 5 years. Yeah, and in those 5 years you've changed a lot. Sitting around doing nothing all day has really made you such a nag. He reached into his pocket for his phone and turned away from me. I was speechless as he sat down to scroll. It felt like he'd pushed me off a cliff into icy water. Today was a happy day. I wiped my face, glad I hadn't done my makeup yet. Are you nervous? I asked. Damien nodded, not bothering to look up from his phone. Bonnie bursted into the room. The bright magenta of her dress was an eyesore. Daddy, please zip my dress. She was bouncing as she admired her reflection. Hold still, Bonnie. Damien was struggling. I imagined the zipper breaking and felt immediate guilt. Bonnie may have looked like she was imitating a certain purple dinosaur, but she was happy. I can help. I moved toward them. That's when Bonnie asked, Daddy, why don't you marry Auntie Vanessa? I stopped dead in my tracks. The sound of the dress zipping filled the silence. Damien smiled at our daughter in the mirror. He swooped down to kiss the top of her head when the door opened. You look beautiful, Bon Bon. The makeup artist swooned at the sight of Damien being paternal. It irritated me, but he had that effect on women. Mr. Kent, please, Damien. And you are. He stretched out a hand. Kelly, she managed with a blush. Your groomsmen need you in the fitting room. Damien sent her smile. Thank you, Kelly. Damien gave Bonnie her iPad before leaving. Annoyed, I sat in front of the mirror. Kelly's makeup case clunked onto the table. She cleared her throat. You have a lovely family. You must be so happy. I nodded, and she got started. My face transformed in front of me. With every minute that it became more flawless, I could see why an onlooker would think we were happy, a successful husband, adorable daughter, doting mother, and dream wedding, as oh, why did I feel more lonely and bitter with each sweep of makeup? All done, Mrs. Kent. You look gorgeous. Thanks, Kelly. Bonnie tossed her iPad onto the seat and ran to take my place. My turn. Honey, you're still a bit too young to wear makeup. She crossed her arms. Auntie Vanessa would let me. Why can't she be my mommy? The wall around my heart cracked. Kelly, would you mind doing my daughter's makeup? Something natural, please. Sure thing. Bonnie's face lit up. I'm going to go see if your dad is ready. Be a good girl, okay? I asked as I opened the door, but Bonnie was already engrossed in the makeup. I took a few steadying breaths. I just spent an hour on my makeup and really couldn't afford to cry. Wow. You look stunning, Celeste. I heard Damien's charming best man, Ryan, call out from down the hallway. You don't look too bad yourself. If you ever want to trade up, he winked, I'll be the handsome one standing behind the groom. I laughed at his antics. Ryan was a terrible flirt, but he knew how to lift anyone's mood. You're such a tease. Have you seen my husband anywhere? I was actually coming to see if he was with you. Oh, I'll check the fitting rooms. Let me know if you find him. He called out as I went on my way. I wondered if Damien would also think I looked stunning as I reached the fitting rooms. Excitement filled me, and I finally felt a little lighter. Damien? Are you? I opened the door, and the world stopped making sense. Damien sat in a plush armchair with his face buried in Vanessa's breasts. She was riding him hard. My best friend's mouth twisted into a smirk when she saw me. Celeste's POV Damien grunted, and his pleasure tore a cry from my throat. He whipped his face away from Vanessa to stare at me in shock. Then he called my name as he untangled himself from her. The sight of them made me nauseous. I had to get away. I shut the door and dabbed my face dry. Anger ignited next to the heartbreak. I would get Bonnie. We would leave, and I would never see that unfaithful bastard again. Mind made up, I hurried back the way I came. Damien's voice echoed behind me, and I ignored him until he grabbed my arm. The suit I had picked out and carefully pressed was crumpled from their escapades. Vanessa sauntered over unbothered, with her hair a mess. Celeste, please let me explain. Damien begged, and I pulled my arm free from his grip. I don't want to hear it, Damien. There is nothing you could possibly say that will fix this. Vanessa reached us and tucked herself into Damien's side. I could still see a hint of that satisfied smirk on her lips. I'm so sorry, Celeste. Neither of us meant for this to happen. Her voice sounded genuine, while her eyes twinkled with glee. Damien and I, we just have this connection. Not now, Vanessa. He interrupted, Damien being with another woman just 2 hours before our wedding absolutely broke me. But Vanessa's betrayal hurt, too. I loved you like a sister, Vanessa. How could you do this to me? She leaned closer to Damien. Maybe you should have taken better care of your man, sweetie. Her condescending tone made my blood boil. I couldn't believe I never realized how two-faced and selfish she was. Are you seriously saying it's my fault you slept with my husband? Damien detached himself from Vanessa and reached for my hand. Look, Celeste, if you'll just calm. I stepped back, my voice rising to match my rage. How long has this been going on? Since she started working for you. They said nothing. I can't believe this. I can explain. Please don't throw our family away, Celeste. Damien pleaded. You threw our family away when you slept with that backstabbing bitch. This wedding is not happening. I'm taking my daughter, and I'm leaving. Damien shouted for me to stop and listen. I ignored him and hurried to the makeup room, my emotions in turmoil. Mommy, do you like my makeup? Bonnie asked as soon as she saw me. Kelly had done a great job. It was a pity it was all in vain. Yes, honey. It looks lovely. Kelly's eyebrows furrowed. Mrs. Kent, your eyeliner is smudged. Let me fix that up for you. It's all right, I said as I grabbed my handbag and Bonnie's hand. You can go home now, Kelly. Thanks for your hard work. I left the confused makeup artist behind and made my way to the venue's exit as quickly as Bonnie's legs would allow. I needed to get out of here before Damien found me, if he was even looking for me. Mommy, Where's your pretty white dress? I don't need it anymore, Bonnie. Why? Her question shoved the knife deeper into my heart. I would have to explain to my daughter that our lives, as we knew them, were over. Our family had been permanently destroyed. How do you tell a 5-year-old that? I took a deep breath. Because Daddy and Mommy are not having a wedding anymore. Why? I stopped and picked her up. Bonnie, Daddy did something bad with Auntie Vanessa. What did Daddy do? Her pretty face was so innocent. I could never tell her the truth. It doesn't matter, honey. But we can't all live together anymore. We're going home to pack our things and find a new home. Just the two of us. Damien may have destroyed our family, but I'd always be Bonnie's mother, and she'd always be my daughter. We'd start over together. But I want to live with Daddy and Auntie Vanessa. It felt like I'd been sucker punched in the gut. This final betrayal hurt beyond anything I could imagine. The child I cared for with all my being chose her father, who hardly had time for her, and her aunt, who never cleaned a single diaper or snotty nose. Over mead, tea was more than I could take. Bonnie whined. I want to go down. I want Daddy. Damien and Vanessa had just come into the reception area. I let Bonnie wiggle out of my hold and watched numbly as she ran and jumped into Vanessa's arms. Honey, are you sure? You won't get to hear a bedtime story from Mommy tonight, I said, my smile feeling like a mask over the pain. Bonnie just shrugged, like it didn't matter. It's okay, Mommy. Auntie Vanessa can tell me a story. Fine. Just don't kick the covers off when you sleep tonight, I said, my voice barely above a whispered. I turned and walked away, my vision blurring as I left the wedding reception. MY's suitcase bulged as I finished packing. But there were so many things I'd have to leave behind. I took one last look at our bedroom. My stomach twisted as I wondered if Damien and Vanessa ever made love in our bed. If they hadn't, they probably would now. I slammed the door shut and dragged my suitcase downstairs. My fingers trembled as I opened a little black box. The ring inside was the one I had been dreaming of for 5 years. I would never get to wear it. I left the ring on the coffee table, next to the divorce agreement I had printed and signed as soon as I got home. Damien would find them without a problem. Leaving the living room, I dug my phone out of my bag. 6 missed calls from Mom shit. I immediately called her back. She must have been frantic. Celeste, dear, what's happening? Vanessa told the guests the wedding was off. The concern in her voice finally unleashed my tears. Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you when you warned me about Damien. I was so blind. So stupid. My throat burned as I forced the words out. I'm divorcing Damien. He's having an affair, Mom. The line was quiet for a moment. It's going to be okay, sweetheart. The gentle kindness of her voice sent me into a sobbing fit. I wasn't completely alone. My mother was still there for me. Don't cry. It's not your fault, you hear me? She sounded stern. I could only nod as I tried to calm down. I'm going to find that good-for-nothing bastard and make him regret the day he hurt my baby. The gung-ho determination in her voice actually made me laugh through the tears. It's fine, Mom. I've already signed the divorce papers, and I'm leaving the house now. Good. I'm proud of you, Celeste. You call me if you need anything at all, okay? I smiled, feeling a little less hopeless. Thanks, Mom. I hung up and dried my face. If my family didn't want me to be their wife or mother, then I would be myself. I had sacrificed everything for them, and they took it for granted. It was time I rediscovered who I was. With my suitcase in hand, I left my home of 5 years, and I didn't look back. Damien's POV hours after my wedding blew up in my face. I was finally home. A stack of papers and the wedding ring commissioned from the top designers at my company sat in plain view on my coffee table. I'm going to change into something more comfortable, Vanessa said before heading upstairs. I walked over to the living room and flipped through the papers. It was a divorce agreement already filled out and signed. I couldn't help but chuckle. Celeste was looking for attention. She was just a spoiled housewife. She'd be begging me to take her back in a couple of days when she realized she's nothing without me. I tossed the papers aside and sunk into the sofa, exhausted. Today was a massive failure that hurt both my pride and my pocket. Celeste was always good at wasting my money, but today really took the cake, I sighed. At least Vanessa had handled announcing the wedding cancellation surprisingly well. I was happy to learn she had other talents besides incredible sex. You threw our family away when you slept with that backstabbing bitch. Celeste's words hung around my mind like mosquitoes. I did my best to swat them away, but they stuck around, ringing in my EA. Our IT irritated me that Celeste chose our wedding day to discover my relationship with Vanessa. We had been sleeping together for months already, but she was so dense I thought she'd never catch on. I certainly never thought she'd give me divorce papers. Babe, Vanessa called out. I'm in the living room. She wore one of Celeste's lace nightgowns. It fit Vanessa better, showing off her curves. Her hips swayed deliciously as she walked over. Where's Bonnie? I asked as she settled into the cushions beside me. Oh, she's playing in her room. Vanessa rested her head on my shoulder and looked up at me with warm brown eyes. How are you holding up? She asked gently. I exhaled and faced the TV. Let's just say today didn't go as planned. Don't be upset, babe. There's a bright side to all this. Her voice became a purr. I understand you so much better than she did. Is that so? I raised an eyebrow. Vanessa leaned closer. Her lips touched my ear as she whispered, Uh-huh. I know just how to make you happy. My body immediately responded. All good reason flew out the door when Vanessa decided it was time to play. Much like earlier in the fitting room. And how exactly will you do that? I asked, as desire flooded my veins. Vanessa's fingers trailed down my arm. Why don't we take this to the bedroom and I'll show you? She punctuated the sentence by playfully biting my earlobe. I couldn't stand her teasing any longer. I grabbed her by the jaw and lifted her face to devour her mouth. Daddy, I'm hungry. I pulled us apart to see Bonnie walking into the living room, rubbing her belly. I want food. She demanded. That was the second time today that someone interrupted my fun. I suppressed a groan. Vanessa was adjusting her clothes beside me. Go make Bonnie something to eat. She froze. The silence stretched, and I felt my patience slip. I actually don't know how to cook. She laughed nervously. Let's just order takeout. How had I not realized how undomesticated she was? Thinking back to our late nights at the office and so-called business trips, she had not cooked once for me. This revelation caught me off guard. It was an extreme inconvenience. What kind of woman didn't know how to cook? Fine. I said, my mood soured. Order something. Just feed her. Bonnie folded her arms and pouted. She muttered under her breath. I want mommy's cooking. Bonnie's scrunched up face pulled on my heartstrings. I didn't want to be the one to call first. I was already reveling in Celeste's inevitable return with her tail between her legs, but it was hard for me to see my daughter so unhappy. I did everything I could to provide her with the very best. If she wanted her mother's cooking, that's what she'd get. Don't sulk, Bonbon. I said, I'll get you mommy's cooking. She smiled at me like I was a superhero. Finally, a win today that I dug my phone out of my pocket. Why do you need to call her? Takeout would only take like 30 minutes. Vanessa nagged. I gave her a hard look. This wouldn't be a problem if you knew how to cook. She looked away as I dialed Celeste. The phone rang for several moments. With each ring I felt a frustration build up inside me I couldn't place. Just when I was about to end the call, she picked up. What do you want? Her clipped tone and rude demeanor stunned me. Was this the same woman I had been married to for 5 years? My voice was firm. Come home and make dinner. Celeste laughed. It was so unexpected. I hadn't heard that sound in ages. You're kidding, right? She asked as her laughter subsided. What was wrong with her? Did she have a mental break after finding out about my affair? Whatever it was annoying the hell out of me. I'm being serious, Celeste. Bonnie is hungry, so get your lazy ass home now and make us something to eat. Why don't you ask Vanessa to cook for you? My annoyance was becoming anger. How many times did I have to tell her something before it got through her thick head? I stood up and paced the living room. She can't cook, I said through gritted teeth. Just get over here now, or so help me Celeste I will. You'll what? Have an affair? Contempt laced her voice. If your whore can't cook, then you better pick up a spatula and start learning, Damien. She cut the call. My jaw dropped. Never in all the time I had known her Had Celeste ever refused me or spoken to me like that? Is Mommy coming? Bonnie asked with wide eyes. My grip on my phone tightened as the sickening feeling of something slipping out of reach tormented me. Celeste's POV this morning was bittersweet. I didn't have to wake up before sunrise to press and lay out Damien's clothes, get Bonnie ready for school, and do a million other things, but I was still heartbroken. I mourned my marriage and missed my daughter. The noon sun felt nice on my skin as I walked down bustling streets. I was paying Grace, an old friend from college, an overdue visit. I wished I'd made more time for her after I got married. We used to have so much fun. She had a keen sense for people, too. When we met Vanessa, she warned me something was off. I should have listened. Grace's jewelry boutique came into view. She decorated it exquisitely, with stylish pieces of jewelry that sparkled under the lights. I stood outside the entrance and took a deep breath. I wanted to hide this shameful aspect of my life. But I knew I needed to rely on my friends. The familiar ring of the bell comforted me as I pushed open the door. Grace looked up from behind the counter. A delighted smile spread across her face. Celeste, I'm so glad it's you. She came over and wrapped me in a tight embrace. I squeezed her back, realizing how badly I needed this. Then she held me at arm's length. Her eyes scanned me from head to toes. Damn girl. I was worried when you postponed your wedding, but you look fantastic. I blushed. Then a swell of emotions hit me. Grace, I feel like my world is falling apart. Her eyebrows furrowed. She took my hand and led me to a seating area in a quiet corner of her store. Talk to me, Celeste. What's going on? I couldn't find the words to explain how my life was turned upside down in a day. Grace gently asked, why was your wedding really postponed? I was stunned. What did they tell you? Vanessa told everyone you had food poisoning and postponed the wedding indefinitely. Knowing Damien, he probably didn't want his image as a devoted husband with a perfect family to be ruined. But still, how could they lie like that? Vanessa just seemed too pleased. I had a feeling something was wrong. Grace gave me a pointed stare, especially when you ignore my calls. Her concern warmed my heart. I took a deep breath. Grace, I didn't postpone my wedding. I canceled it. I'm getting divorced. She gasped. I walked in on Damien and Vanessa fucking just before our wedding. Grace's eyes popped out of her head, the audacity. She stood up, rage coloring her voice. I'll rip off that bastard's balls and stuff them down that two-faced. Whoa, calm down. I guided her back to her seat. Are you trying to get yourself arrested? I tried to sound stern, but I couldn't keep the humor from my voice. Fine. Grace grumbled and sat back down. He doesn't have balls, anyway. I packed out laughing and she joined me. How are you holding up? She asked once we calmed down. I don't know. I just feel so stupid. I was the one who got Vanessa that job. I practically set them up. Grace squeezed my hand. Hey, you were helping a friend. This is on them. I sighed. That's not even the worst part. I'm listening. Bonnie is staying with Damien. She wants Vanessa to be her mom. My throat choked. I feel like a failure. Tears pricked my eyes. Grace patted my back. I don't know how Vanessa pulled this off, but I know you're an excellent mother, Celeste. None of this is because of you. I keep reminding myself of that. Don't worry. I'm here to remind you, too. Her smile was genuine, and I knew I could count on her. So, what are you going to do now? Grace asked. I don't know. I didn't have a plan. I just packed a suitcase and went to a hotel. A hotel? Celeste, you should have come straight to me. I guess I just needed to be alone for a while. She simmered down. I'll let it slide this time, but you can't keep staying there. Move in with me. Don't be crazy. I've been thinking of getting out of my cramped apartment anyway. I want something bigger with extra space to work on more projects. My spirit sank. It won't work. Why? We live together forbidding college. It'll be fun. She seemed so excited. I hated to let her down. It's just that I have nothing. No savings, property, or career. And I refuse to accept any money from Damien. I can't afford it. You don't have nothing. Your jewelry designs were some of the most breathtaking ones I've seen. Remember all those awards you won in college? I smiled. You're extremely talented, Celeste. It's time you pursue your career. The doorbell jingled. Grace excused herself. Sorry, it's a customer. I'll be right back. Sure, go. A bubble of excitement grew as I considered designing jewelry again. I was always a little jealous that Vanessa got to work my dream job while I was stuck at home folding laundry. Now was my chance. Curious, I fished my phone from my handbag and scrolled through Vanessa's I asterisk 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 M. The most recent post was like a knife to the gut. Vanessa, Damien, and Bonnie were eating together like a family. They looked happy. How could Damien and Bonnie replace me? The pain of their betrayal fueled my determination. I would pursue my career as a jewelry designer and prove my worth. The store's bell rang again as more customers came in. It looked like Grace needed to work. I was gathering my things to leave when my phone buzzed. I declined at the moment Damien's name flashed on my screen. He called 3 more times, and I declined those. Toot, IT gave me a sense of satisfaction. I waved goodbye to Grace and pulled open the door. My phone buzzed again. Damien had given up calling and sent a text that I read the message and my heart stopped beating. Why won't you answer your phone? Bonnie is in the hospital. Celeste's Pavmi stomach was in knots as I walked into the children's ward at the hospital. I desperately needed to see my daughter and know that she was okay. Had I reached the room the nurse pointed me to and threw open the door, and my daughter laid in the bed, almost as white as its sheets. I ran straight to her side. There was an 4 drip in her arm, and she moaned with pain. Bonnie? It's Mommy. Can you hear me, baby? I tried to keep the panic out of my voice. Mrs. Kent. I turned to see a doctor speaking with Damien and his mother, Pauline. Yes, I'm Mrs. Kent. Are you Bonnie's doctor? Can you tell me what's wrong with her? I asked her, ignoring the others. Oh, your husband didn't tell you? I said nothing, and the doctor cleared her throat before responding. Your daughter has acute gastroenteritis, most likely caused by the unhygienic takeout food she ate yesterday. She was severely dehydrated when your husband brought her in. I blinked back tears. My sweet girl went through so much. I asked the question that had been running through my mind since I read Damien's text. Is she going to be okay? We've given her an 4 drip to replenish her fluids and some medication for stomach pain and nausea. She should make a full recovery. I nodded, relief coursing through me. We'll keep her overnight for observation. The doctor continued. She should be discharged tomorrow. How did she get this sick? She was perfectly healthy when I saw her late yesterday morning. I couldn't help but glare at Damien as I asked my question. It's unusual for cases to develop this quickly. The doctor glanced uncomfortably between us. My professional opinion is that she was given no fluids since falling ill. My blood boiled. Thank you, doctor. I said in a clipped tone. Could you give us a few minutes alone? Sure. Call a nurse if you need anything. She practically ran out of the room. The moment the door shut, I turned to my ex-husband. How could you let this happen? Is cooking so far beneath you that you'd rather give our daughter food poisoning? For God's sake, Damien, I left her with you for 1 day. 1 day. Damien clenched his jaw and Pauline looked horrified at my outburst. I couldn't find it in me to care. I went to sit by Bonnie's side. Locks of hair were stuck to her forehead with sweat. I brushed them aside and held her hand. Everything is going to be all right, honey. I told her softly. She stirred in a fitful sleep. Seeing her suffer without being able to do anything was torture. Pauline cleared her throat behind me. I turned to see her eyes full of blame boring into me. Celeste, your behavior is abhorrent. Her voice was as sharp as a blade. How can you call yourself a mother when you refuse to take care of your own daughter? You have no idea what you're talking about, Pauline. I take excellent care of my daughter. She scoffed. If that were the case, she wouldn't be in the hospital now. I was tired of being blamed and put down by Damien and his mother. I put up with it for 5 years. But that ended today that I left Bonnie's side and walked right up to Pauline. She took a slight step back, and my voice dropped dangerously low. Maybe if you taught your son how to cook, my daughter wouldn't be in the hospital right now. Pauline's mouth hung open, Celeste. Damien stepped between us. You're missing the big picture. I put some space between us. Which is? I asked. This happened because you left home. I hope you'll see that my mother is right and change your mind about the divorce. Did he expect me to turn a blind eye while he had an affair? He was unbelievable. Why would I ever do that? Think about our reputations, Celeste. What will people say when they find out we're divorced? His gaze landed on Bonnie. Will you force our daughter to grow up in a broken home? He made it sound like I was pushing for a divorce for no reason. Did you forget about your affair? I asked, seething. Pauline's pencil-drawn eyebrows shot into her hairline. Damien, how could you? She admonished her son. Before he could respond, I continued. You are the one who broke our home. So I'll be going forward with the divorce and taking custody of our daughter. Damien chuckled. Let's see if my daughter even wants to live with you. He walked over to Bonnie and gently shook her awake. I stood on the other side of the bed with my heart in my throat. Bon Bon, who do you want to be with? Mommy or Daddy?